Hey everybody, so we thought it would be a great idea to shoot a part 4 for this. Had kind of coming from like a little bit more of the vlogging, like Q&A type vibe. So we have a bunch of questions from the channel where we feel like we address them through the comments, but I feel like it might be better if we address them kind of with the build there. We also have measuring tape nearby. I can kind of clarify some of the measurements and really show an in-depth answer to what some of you guys were asking, because the questions were amazing. So down here, we're kind of in our little gear corner of the basement, and I have the pieces here. Kind of broke them out of storage. It's getting warmer now here in Ohio. So we'll kind of go through there. We'll look at stuff. We're getting them out anyways. And then, yeah, we'll see what you guys think. If there's any other questions you guys have, I think hopefully this should clarify some stuff. As well as give some tips. And then if you guys have comments on there, we can just kind of keep this going, and maybe we'll do another part and we'll answer some more questions or create a lot more conversation around this. Because I feel like a lot of the times it's like, hey, we made it, which, yeah, you made it, but how'd you do it, right? Like, what were the troubles you had? Like, how did you, for example, in our build, we keep our, we keep the back seat in. And I know a lot of other builds, which are really, really great, they gut the back and put it in, but we wanted the flexibility of then, hey, just take it out and then go on the road, and that's what this build really gives us. All right, first question. So I'll put this on the screen down there too in the corner so you can read it too, but I'll kind of read it here. So Mike was wondering, he's in his Outback, how to manage the slope. So the slope, when you're looking at the pieces, right? Part 1 was that big piece, the broad piece. If you go back, check out the previous videos, we can tag them in here, link them. Part 1, that big base. Part 2 was a little trickier, right? You want to, for us, when you lay down that seat, the seat comes up and it's not 100% flat. The bed where you can keep things, it's flat, and then it comes up and then it ramps up a little bit. On that ramp up, we decided that what we would do is kind of use a middle fin to kind of give the support in the middle. And then after that, we have these 2 other supports. And if you notice, this is what I'm referring to, this fin. You can call it whatever, support fin. That's just kind of what we decided to call it, doesn't matter. But it's flush here. This is where it's going to be at the top of the seat, right? Here's part 3. So imagine you're in the car, right? And I can set this down real quick. So imagine you're in the car, right? I'm sure if you've seen the other videos, you kind of know the perspective that we have here. But like, look here how it's kind of at a slant itself. So you see it slope down to the left, right? That right fin, let me use this one, right, is a little bit taller. And that's what's going to be further in or further down to kind of bring up the support to this side. So this guy down here, shorter, and this one over here, higher. So you can look at the other videos for the precise measurements, right? I don't want to contradict the other videos we have here, but this back one here, like what Mike was asking, if you notice down here, this is the offset. Okay, that right there brings it up to bring it level with the back part of the car, part or piece 1, to make it flush. Okay, so once you lay this down, so you'll see how that fin is flush here. We even kind of sanded it down to prevent tearing inside of the car on the carpet. But this guy right here is the offset. Okay, that's the one that kind of clarifies Mike's question. That's how we handle that slope. All right, and what we did was we kind of put these pieces in there and we held it up. So we had this flat piece in originally, this surface piece, and then what we did was we brought it up and we had a level with that part already built. Okay, because the slope was, like I said, probably one of the hardest things. All right, question 2, we had Carl, thank you, Carl. Curious how much actual headroom you have. This is like the great debate. So like what we did, we wanted optimum storage, okay? And to do that, we built it up a little bit higher, right? So here's where I'm gonna break out the tape measure. And what I mean by that is we jump back to that main piece here, that main part, that's that weight bearing guy. Right here, if you notice, it's gonna be a little bit extra. We have almost 9 inches, okay? So it will be a little bit taller if you're including the plywood which we used, which was 3/4 inch, if you wanna look at that there. It's really up to you, right? And a lot of people are like, why don't you just peel inside of the, inside of your build? Why do you even have a platform? Why not buy a Luno? Like, yeah, Luno's great, do it. But what we wanted was we wanted storage. If you had the mattress straight on the ground, you lose your storage, right? So when we go out west, we go to Colorado, other places, things like that, eventually, hopefully Utah, We wanted storage, right? Because you're going to have all your clothes, you're going to have your food. Now that we have our baby, like we're going to have a lot more gear and we need that storage. Okay. So that's really why we chose that. That's a great question. But coming back to the headroom, like Carl was talking about, it can be a little cramped, right? To be honest, but that was what we preferred. We got in there and we tested the height before we really sank things in. Meaning when I say sank, these screws that we used, right? We had glue inside there. We pressed them together. We countersank these things so they wouldn't snag on anything, right? Before we did all those finer details, we tested the height and that's what we liked. So really, honestly, it's up to you. Now the catch is what we would recommend, build the first piece, build that first, then you know what the height is. And then jumping back to that first question that Mike had, then you can address the slope, right? So if you're gonna follow the pattern, right? This guy over here, 9 inches, right? Or about, give or take. These, as a result, will then also follow suit and they'll be shorter as well, okay? Now that also might get you into some, some more work that you might have to do because then you have to take into consideration all these other pieces like this middle support. You might have to rip this down too and take some of that, the width off as well. So I know it seems like a lot of work and I'm not discouraging anyone, but it's just a different way of doing it, right? We did it all at once. That's what you would do with the planning too. So it's really personal preference. We're both not tall people. I'm like 6 foot on a good day or with my boots. So we have plenty of room. We have plenty of headspace, plenty of things. Having the gear was the priority. All right, next question was from Michael. What wood did you choose? If I did this in my Forester, I'd be thinking about non-toxic, something that doesn't shed wood debris too easily over time. Another fantastic question. So essentially, I'm not going to be sit here and be a wood expert. I don't know that, but I would assume if it's being sold to be put into homes, you would hope that it's not going to be toxic. So please correct me on that if I'm wrong, but I'm sure someone out there has a little bit more knowledge base of that. But however, we did pick something that we did want to keep in mind would not snag on things, right? We have our mattress, right? You can kind of see rolled up back there. Pulling that in and out and flipping things, right? You have a cooler that we could store inside, things like that. We wanted to make sure that it didn't shred apart because that's a very, very good point. So what we did, we got everything from either Home Depot or Lowe's, excuse me. But we got sanded plywood, right? It's that pre-sanded, treated, right? You can look at this and it's not, it's not snagging on anything. It's not like that classic plywood you'd see, or OSB that you'd be putting on like a rooftop, right? If you're roofing your house. But this is like the sanded plywood. I believe what we got was birch as well, but kind of jumping back to that, there's different sizes of sheets you could use. The thickness that we use, we talked about in the third question was that 3/4 inch. We felt like that would be the most weight bearing, and so far, fantastic, right? So if you're worried, you want to have 2 people on there, you could do the 3/4. I don't know if I would go anything less than that. If it's maybe 1 person, right, and your dog or whatever, you might be able to get away with that, and it would make things lighter. But once again, like we kind of weighed things, we felt that was okay for our car, right? We weren't going to be keeping it in there or living in our car over time, because as that added weight, more gas might, you're going to be burning more gas, right? It's more weight you're moving in your car. So it's great for a trip, right? It's a little bit on the heavier side, I would say. It's very manageable to move with 1 person. Sarah manages to move it fantastic as well. So don't be discouraged by that. But really, really good question. I'm not going to address the toxicity. I'm not an expert on that, but I would say the sanded plywood was amazing. It was very, very good. And like I said, we used 3/4 inch. All right, next question was from Chris. I think I understand this. So Chris says, why is the top of part 2 41.5? I'm assuming the inches, and top part of part 1 42 3/4. So what I'm assuming here is if we look at this build all laid out, part 1, 2, 3, the head goes here, right? That's that flipping piece. That's like your head, chest, and so down, lower body. What I'm assuming is for part 1, they're meaning the width, right? Chris, I think you're meaning the width. Why is this wider and this one is shorter? So essentially, like if you're to picture this being in the Subaru right now, you have your sidewalls right here and here. In the back, this all fits, right? In the back, like, I don't know what you want to call it, the storage space, right, that everybody has in the back of their car, the trunk, that's the word I wanted, right? All this fits in the back. This right here is the seat line. So this part will come up to the seat line, it'll sit here, and then this support or this This crease right here will be at the top of the seat. This is wider because in the back, it's all flat on the ground on the seat. If you look on the inside of a car when that seat is folded down or those seats are folded down, it's not as wide. This space over here is empty, right? Because there's a little bit where the seat comes in. So that's why we chose this to be wider and this to be shorter and not all uniform. You could do uniform, but this gave us a little bit more space for our bodies to lay. Essentially more surface area, right? That's the kind of the outlook that we were looking there. This, we built everything as wide as we could to fit into the car for maximum like laying on-ness. Don't coin that term, I have no idea, but that's what that is. So that's why we did that. Differences in widths, right? And you can kind of see that looking down on there, the camera shadow. You can see the difference in the width, and that is why, okay? Because once you get to the supports on the car, or in the car on the back of the seat, it's just not as wide as it is in the trunk. This support is on the ground, okay? So it works out well there. So that's why we chose that surface area. Another quick question here, Michael. We did address this earlier, but I said I would address it. Thickness of plywood, 3/4 inch, right? It kind of comes back to the discussion, how much weight's gonna be on it. We have 2 people, so we went thicker, right? You could go thicker, you could go thinner. I wouldn't recommend anything less than 1/2 inch. That 3/4 was just enough to hold 2 people. Then eventually when we're out of it, to put your coolers on and your gear on if you need to, fold things up, put things, right? So it's really just personal preference, like who's gonna be on it. Keep in mind how much weight is gonna be on the build at times, like when you're doing all your sleeping, right? That's where it's gonna be the heaviest, 2 humans, right? Or human and a big old dog, like whatever you're traveling with, that's gonna be ultimately the decider, what you do with the thickness of the plywood. Another quick question. I feel like I've kind of touched on that one and this one, but Lee answered this, or asked this one, excuse me. Dumb question. No such thing as dumb question. Bring them on. We love the questions. What are the advantages of building a wooden bed compared to the mattress in the car? To me, there's like 3 options, right? If you're working with like a Subaru, Forester, even a Crosstrek people have been in, as well as the Outback. The advantage, I feel like you can customize when you do something like this, like a project like this, you can customize it to what you want or what you expect out of it, right? With a mattress, you can put it in there and it's probably great. And it's probably great for weekend trips. I referenced Luno before. We've heard great things about Luno. That could be something we use in the future. Like eventually we want to have a van. We needed storage, so we built the platform to sleep on top of to give us room to store things, right? You could do a mattress though. That's personal preference. I could see that being a good like weekend thing. If you're just using that quick mattress. But hopefully that answers that question, Lee. No dumb questions. Next question, which you'll have pulled up there too on the screen. Jimmy, interesting design, thank you. The clearance from the top of the platform to the ceiling where the chest would lay. I mean, it's enough that if I were laying flat on this guy right now, I'm gonna try to use, let me see if I can use this chair as a way to measure. So the seat's almost level, a couple inches high. The seat's almost level with that. What I would say is like, if this is like where our feet's at, so imagine, I should have used a better example. If I were down here, right, that's where the head would be. When you sit up, I mean, it's probably middle of the height of this chair, right? And right now it doesn't look like a whole lot, but it's enough where you can like almost crunch up to get out, right? And you can wiggle out. Now, another thing to consider though is if you do look at some of the videos we have, we did get a net for above the platform. I would definitely recommend the net, and I would also recommend don't build it too high so you can use a thing like a net. When you're laying there on the platform, it's super easy to reach up, right? Imagine this is a net that's hanging up above us here. It attaches to like the handles, like boom, boom, on the driver's side and then on the passenger side, and it sits up there. And it was amazing. We'd be going across, you hit tolls, you hit things, even in the front seat, passenger, driver, we would recommend the passenger. You can reach back and you can grab those things super easily. And then when you're sleeping, you can keep your phone up there. Like if you have one of those little chargeable bricks, you can put that up there. You can put your parking passes, your national parks pass. You can put, we always have like a little clipboard that has like notes and things, and you can stash all that stuff up there, and it's super, super helpful. So Headroom, it's super nice to have something up there to take care of holding those things. So Yeah, you can lose your headroom, but I would recommend not building it super high. I feel like if I were to recommend this to anybody else with an Outback, don't go above 9 inches. I feel like through the testing and the things that we did, 9 inches felt like the max to us. Yeah, I hope that answers the question. Right, so I don't have an actual measurement. I'd have to fish out a measuring tape and get in the car when we put it in there, but I can save this comment and you can check it out. Maybe we do another Q&A. All right, next question. Another really good question, actually. Frisky Anderson. So how do you deal with condensation while breathing, sleeping overnight? Really good question. I'm just going to keep referencing Luno. Luno has now created a lot of different things that you can put on, like car screens and things over the doors. If you're going for a cheaper brand or something like that, that's what we did. You can order them off Amazon, right? Amazon has a great feature. You plug in your car, your make and model for the car. It'll tell you what fits over. That's what we did. Recommend doing that. But essentially what we did and what I'm hinting at is get screens. With the screens were super nice. One, keeping bugs out. Two, it helps with temperature control. You can put the windows down. Theoretically, you could put them all the way down when those screens are really fitting. We would just, for protection for ourselves while sleeping, because there were times we did sleep in parking lots or, different areas that are kind of, back in the middle of nowhere. We would only crack the windows so much. But I tell you what, that was the biggest difference when we were sleeping is we didn't have any issues with condensation. However, we didn't do like winter camping or other things like that. It was already warm out. When we would go to Colorado, us being teachers, it was already warm. It was like, gosh, I don't know, when we were in Colorado, there were some points, when we were sleeping, it was like 80 degrees and then down to like 55, mid 50s, right? You people in Colorado, people that are out westwards, Westerners have a better idea of what that would feel like. But we didn't have issues with that. But if you are doing winter camping, you could run into that issue, yeah. But I would recommend getting screens regardless. And they'll keep anything out and you can crack those windows. The only issue we ever had and what we would recommend is sometimes when it's really hot and you don't have airflow like wind outside, get some of those what are they called? Oh my gosh, fans. Get the stroller fans, all right? Those are super nice. You can hang them from the edge of the net, like hang it over, like over top. You can put them over on the handles like we mentioned or referenced earlier. But yeah, I would definitely recommend the little stroller fans. Those are super nice, super cheap, and you can, we are lucky enough to have Jackery as well. When you're out, just plug them in to charge them too. Like get some rechargeable ones, right? Or even if they do take batteries, which I'm sure they do, then you can get those little rechargeable battery packs, like a USB that can plug into your Jackery or portable power source, and you can go from there. But definitely recommend those. So hopefully that answers that question. All right, next question is from Bob. Height of the sleeping platform, ever miss being able to sit up straight in bed? Well, I mean, like I said, there are some trade-offs to having the platform, right? Eventually, a van would be fantastic. That's what our eventual goal will be, and hopefully we'll be able to put a series on here with a van soon. However, ever miss being able to sit up? Yeah, that is something that would be nice to have. However, when the temperature is nice, this is really nice when you're on the road or you need to park in a parking lot. You needed a break from sleeping to stay safe, or not sleeping, excuse me, from driving, to sleep and stay safe. We use it primarily for like backwoods and for like transition. So like when you're, switching, driving all night and then you switch to take a nap at like a Love's or something along the road, right? That's the main use we get from this, but we are to heart, like we'll sleep in a hammock or we'll sleep in tents too. So usually we'll find a campground and we'll stay in the tents that way. That way we get the nice air and we have our space, we have our room, we have other things too. But for the purpose of ours, it's great for the road trips and it gives us storage and we can sleep wherever we want, which is super nice. I think it's like iOverlander or something like that. I have to ask Sarah or include this in the comments rather, or the information. But that's a fantastic app too that you can see where there's places that are rated and safe. I will say disclaimer, be very cautious wherever you go regardless because people could use that to their advantage too. But just be careful with what you use. But sitting up straight in bed, we try to camp in tents to get that same experience and to be comfortable. But this is amazing when you're on the road. So that would definitely be the trade-off though. All right, last question from Mitch. Just asked this one today. Bed platform, pretty level overall. Would you make the top side of part 2 lower than 8 inches to level it off more, or was it pretty good? I would say pretty good. If I'm gonna set the camera up here and I'll show you, but once again, this back part, like we just measured, part 1, this sits at the back of the car. The total height, 9 3/4 inches, right? So this fin was 9 inches, and then adding, you gotta have to consider this into the height as well, 3/4 inch plywood, which is what we used. So 9 3/4 inches tall here. And if you look at this, almost the exact same measurement, right? So if you look at that, it's already pretty much level, or flush as they'd say, right? But over here, like we talked about earlier in the very beginning, it does slope down to the left a little bit. So this accounts for the slope on the seat. So that seat that's down, like I mentioned in the beginning, I use my arm as a reference. It's tilted up like this, which is why this leg is shorter. And it'll bring this piece up, and in the car it would be level. And if I were to recommend any changes here, I actually don't have any. Like, it was actually very, very level and flush. I do not have the level with me at the moment, but maybe I could do that in a future video if anyone has any more questions. However, it's honestly good, but the way we got it to that point was we built this piece first. We put this into the car, and there into the Outback, and then we built this piece. Okay, ignore piece 3. That was pretty easy. We kept the same width, and then we used one of those, I think it's called like a piano hinge or something, right? We just slapped that on there, boom, it was good to go. Built a support underneath. This guy, we held this piece without any supports, level with it, right? So imagine this in the car, this piece doesn't have anything on there. And then we took, then we built these on. So imagine this is gone. We held it level, and then we took this measurement with a measuring tape. Okay, there's probably better ways about doing that, but that's for some reason the thing that we chose, and it worked out really well. But that's how we did that. And then we kept it flush, and then Sarah, or whoever was holding that at the time, then measured the other one to then get the distance from, this would be the bottom of the seat, and then up, and then staying flush the entire time. So that's how we took it. So hopefully that answers your question. And if you look underneath, we knew that piece, so you can see there's light on the other side right here, that middle support. We knew that support had to at least be flush with this, and then it would be hid or masked or tucked away on this side, because this is gonna be longer than this one. So hopefully that answered your question. But I would recommend the way we build it in the videos and the way we talk. It's been like, I think almost 2 years. I don't want to contradict my measurements, but the way we do it, it's level, it's flush. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. Okay, so amazing questions. Okay, keep those coming. I feel like they pour in. I know you'll see some of the comments that we had, the little timestamp say like 1 year, 7 months, 8 months to 3 minutes ago. They're always coming in. If you guys have any comments or any questions that you have or feedback, or heck, you do it better than us, we'd love to hear about it. So if you check out the link tree that we have, it's in our banner on our YouTube channel, or it's attached to all of our other socials. We're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, and other things like that. We do have a contact us button. We've already reached out to like 2 or 3 different people. Recently, we had a friend that also used our build idea for her, and she made it her own. Awesome, we'd love to hear about it. Share it with us. Comment improvements. If I messed up on anything or I used the wrong terms, tell me, educate me, help me out. That's really what it's all about. We want to give this to you guys so you go out and you get your adventures in while making each other better and creating a little community. That's the goal. So if you guys have any more questions, comments, things on the build that we have, we'd love to hear about it. We'll continue to share this with you guys. It's been fantastic, the support we've got and the views and everything else and the likes and the comments and the people we've met through it. Just keep it coming. This build has been more than just a sleeping arrangement. So thanks everybody, and I'm sure we'll have something coming out soon.